to Mat Pilates. This is a class focused on core musculature, anything that attaches to your pelvis and spine. All you need is a yoga mat in your body. Okay, we don't have any weights, nothing. Take water breaks whenever you need. If your neck muscles get fatigued, keep your head down. If your lower back muscles feel strained, keep your feet on the ground. If I ever straighten my legs, know that you don't have to fully straighten your legs. Okay, so let's get started. Pilates is all about the breath, so let's make sure that we are always breathing. Always, always, always. We're going to inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. I want you to almost think that you want everyone to hear you breathing. So you inhale in a way that you can hear yourself, and then you want to exhale out through pursed lips, as if you're trying to whistle, but you're the worst whistler in the world because no whistle actually comes out. Inhale and exhale. We're going to be spending most of the time on our back, but just for now, as we get into our breathing, you want to see if you can lengthen the spine through the top of your head and exhale out through the mouth. Everyone hear me okay? Okay, good. All right. So let's go ahead and roll on down the mats. Take it one vertebra at a time. Good. Your knees are bent, feet are hip distance apart, and we'll continue to breathe, inhaling through the nose and exhaling out through the mouth. Good. Nice, slow, deep breaths. Ideally, you want your device set up so that you're not constantly having to look to the side. Usually a good spot is sort of near your feet. Once you know what we're doing, you can stare at the ceiling, head and neck aligned with your spine. Right now, you're just in a comfortable position. Like you're not thinking about anything. You're not thinking about imprint. You're just breathing. Gravity pulls you down to the floor, right? It pulls your shoulder blades down and pulls your arms down. We're not trying to lift anything up against gravity at the moment. On your next exhale, you're going to draw your abs in and intentionally imprint the lower back. So if your lower back wasn't already on the floor, it is now in contact with the floor. Inhale, relax. Go back to your neutral, normal state of just lying there. Exhale, imprint. So that's a contraction here of the abs, and you'll usually feel your tailbone lift off the floor a little bit. Inhale, relax. Exhale, imprint. Let's keep the imprint. Learn how to breathe in while the abs stay contracted, and lift those legs one at a time to what we call tabletop position. This is our warm-up. If you've taken my class before, we generally do a very similar warm-up. We're tapping the toes out, keeping the knees at 90 degrees. We're going to exhale as we lower, reinforce the imprints. Inhale to lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Sometimes it's hard to tell if our knees are still at 90 degrees without looking directly into a mirror. But you just want a rough estimate. And usually you can tell when your knees aren't at 90 degrees, it's because you feel relaxation of the quads. Like if your heel drops, your quads are no longer engaged. You'll also feel that if you pull your knees too far in and you tap too close to the butt with the knees less than 90, you won't feel any work in the abs. You should feel increased work in the abs, making a huge effort to maintain imprint as the legs reach away. Now we're going to try it with both legs here. Maybe you want to use your arms a little bit as well. Press into the floor with your palms and try tapping all 10 toes down to the mats. Now if you feel any sort of strain in the lower back, feel free to truncate the motion, so just lowering about halfway down. As long as you feel work in the abs, you're doing it correctly. Don't worry so much about the range of motion. Good. Let's do 2 more. Exhale to lower. Inhale to lift. exhale, and inhale. So now here you can drop the heels. Notice how your quads just kind of relax right there. And then we can place the feet down on the ground, hip distance apart. This generally gets our feet in the correct place for our shoulder bridge. Rolling up into the shoulder bridge. Line is from shoulder joint, the hip joint, not your butt. Notice the difference between your hip joint and your butt. And then your knees. Slowly roll on down one vertebra at a time. Try to get every part of your spine to touch the floor at some point. So once we're all the way down, your tailbone's on the floor. That's part of your spine. We're going to lift the tailbone up, and that means the lower back now touches the ground. And then it peels off the mats. And then we move up and up and up until only our shoulder blades and the head is on the ground. Well, and the feet. In terms of the spine, we think of the head all the way through the tailbone as being part of the spine. And rolling down. Now you may have heard that this is not a good exercise for neck because your head is like this and then your spine's like that, and so you're putting pressure on the head. Ideally, when you do this, you don't want to have pressure on the head. So when I am in my fully lifted position, my abs are engaged, my glutes are squeezing, I should be able to lift my head. I don't want to lift my head. It's actually a lot of strain for the neck. But what it means is that the pressure is on my shoulder blades and not on the back of my head. You shouldn't be putting all the weight into your neck or head. Let's do one more shoulder bridge. This is a really great exercise for your glutes, especially if you have any knee issues and you can't do squats and lunges. This is the best way to work your hips safely without standing. And rolling back down. So your spine can do flexion, so that's what we're going to do right now. Head, neck, and shoulder blades come up. This sort of curling motion is called spine flexion. Lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Sometimes I do a 2-breath pattern. That means exhale is 1 breath, inhale is the 2nd breath. And sometimes I do a 4-count pattern where I lift on the exhale, inhale, hold, exhale, lower, and inhale again at the bottom. And as long as you're breathing, it's okay whether you do a 2 or 4 breath pattern. Yeah, keep going. Just gonna check stuff here. If you have questions, you can always ask it in the chat. Good. When you do this crunch, and anytime we do a lift of the head, neck, and shoulders, you're always going to look towards your knees. You don't want to look at the ceiling because that will strain the neck. All right, we're going to move into hundreds. That's pumping the arms 100 times. So go ahead and lift the head, neck, and shoulders. You can keep the feet where they are. You can lift it to tabletop. You can straighten, or you can put it on the diagonal. Go ahead and pick one of those 4 positions and start pumping the arms. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 10. Inhale, 5 counts. Exhale, 5 counts. 20. Inhale. Exhale. 30. Inhale. I'm looking at my knees. Chin tucked. 40. Constantly reaching with the arms. Exhale. 50. This is all about abdominal endurance. 60. If your neck is tired, you just put your head back down. Still working the abs. 80. Inhale. Exhale. 90. Inhale. Exhale. 100. When we're done with 100, try not to collapse. Try to bring your knees back in with control. And we flip over to do what's called spine extension. So flexion is the opposite of extension. This is flexion of the arms, of the elbow, and this is extension of the elbow. So when we talk about the spine, flexion is in the forward direction and extension is in the backward direction. So this is spine extension, inhaling to lift. I'm still keeping my chin slightly tucked. Exhale to lower. So generally speaking, we don't want to hyperextend the neck. So this is hyperextension. Imagine there's like a small egg or, clementine or something underneath your chin. And you just don't want to drop it. You're going to hold on to it. You want a small space though under your chin. You don't want to jam it down into your chest because then you're looking straight down. And that's also not keeping your head and neck aligned with the spine. Inhale, pressing to those forearms. If your elbows are off the ground, go ahead and place them back on the ground so that you can use your entire forearm. I'm currently keeping the tops of my feet on the mats. Let's go forward a little bit. Yeah, so this is our spine extension. And if you don't feel like you need the assistance of the arms, this is version number 2 with the arms reaching toward the toes. In this version, I have a little more range of motion with my shoulder blades. I can squeeze it a little more. So I'm going to do that, which might help to lift your chest a little bit more. But be careful. Pay attention to how your lower back is feeling. You want to feel strengthening of the spine muscles, but not straining. Strengthening, not straining. Okay, let's finish with the last one here. And then I'm going to take my hands underneath my shoulders. I'm going to push myself up. And when we stretch, we're going to be in a spine flexion position again. Good. Just going to go right back down towards the mat since I'm facing the ground already for a plank. Getting those elbows underneath the shoulders. So a healthy spine is a mobile spine and a stable spine. So when we're doing sort of the crunch motion, it was rolling up. When we're doing the shoulder bridge, it was a roll up through the spine. And now we want a stable spine where it's not moving. So squeeze your abs, draw the belly button up and in toward the spine. Keep those shoulders stacked right over the elbows. Press into those forearms for a strong shoulder girdle area. I want you to also squeeze your butt and your quadriceps so that whole midsection is engaged. And then we're just, and hopefully you're still breathing. We're going to breathe 2 more breaths together. Inhale, exhale, look at your thumbs. Last breath in and out. Good. Coming out of that. So half roll back. I'm in the front half of my mats. And once again, we're creating that nice C curve for the flexion of the spine. We are not working on our neck. So neck shoulder area should just be very, very relaxed. No tension there. A lot of times we have tension from sitting at our desk, maybe with not so great posture. And it almost feels weird to not have that tension there. Exhale. Good. I'm going to, if you'd like, you can continue as is. I'm going to have you straighten one leg. And when I say straighten, it doesn't need to be fully straightened. It can be partially lifted like this. I'm going to keep that leg up. So it engages the quads and hip flexors. And if your leg is straight, it looks like this. It'll be more challenging to straighten your spine when your leg is straight. So don't worry so much about that. Focus on the quad work and the abdominal work here. Keep those shoulders relaxed. Do one more, and this is the 5th one. So again, you can keep your knees bent. You might be able to straighten your spine a little bit more if your knees are bent. Hamstrings and lower back are sort of closely tied right here. So if your hamstrings are tight, it generally makes your lower back unable to straighten, or your back. Okay, so exhale, lean back. Inhale, come forward. And really, you can do any variation you want. You can like straighten your leg as you go halfway back. You can bend your knees as you come up. All of that is good stuff. We're working our abs here, working the hip flexors, quads. all these muscles in that midsection, which are all core muscles. So it'll be harder to keep that leg straight as you sit up. So notice the different challenges you feel in different muscle groups, depending on if your leg is straight or if it's bent. All right, I think that was 5 or 6. We're gonna go ahead and roll on down. Yeah, we're gonna try this hand stacked version of the roll up today. So this is always more challenging because we don't have the arms reaching forward. You can at any point take your arm off the forehead and reach it forward and then place it back. We are going to use our legs for assistance though. So anytime our legs are shooting out, that'll help transfer the weight to get our spine up. So nod the chin, inhale, head, neck, shoulders. We are all going to get stuck here if we don't straighten our legs. So straighten your leg and at the same time use your abs to crunch up. Now, if you are new to doing this, it's okay to use a little bit more momentum as you straighten your legs. Now, right here is one other thing I want you to try to focus on. Bend your knees a little bit if you need to. I want you to pretend there's a wall right behind you. And you're going to like stack up your spine and head against the wall. So again, if your hamstrings are tight, bend your knees. And then we're going to roll down. So here I'm hinging at the hip, little spine straight, and then I round the spine and I roll down. You're not going to go back with straight spine. You don't want to just bam, fall flat. It's about sort of hinging a little bit, creating that challenge in the abs, and then finally rolling down. Let's try the other leg. Inhale, arms, head, shoulders. Exhale, legs and abs. Do your best to keep your elbows to the side if you can. We're diving forward. Now stack the vertebrae. Lower back, mid back, shoulders, and head. Good. Hinge a little bit. This is a little challenging. And then tuck your tailbone under and roll down slowly with control. Try to keep those heels on the mat. Do you want to try rolling up without the leg? We can try it. The worst that can happen is our arms have to leave the head, or we don't make it up and then we just use our legs. So let's see. Inhale, head, neck, shoulders. Exhale. If you get stuck, you can reach your arms forward like this. Get past that little hump and then roll up. Stack on the inhale. Exhale, hinge, tuck, and roll. Inhale, nod. Exhale, peel. Inhale, stack. Remember, the head is the last thing that comes up. Exhale, hinge a little bit, probably 90 degrees to 70 degrees, and then tuck and roll. So do 2 more at your own pace. I could do right leg and then left leg again one more time. You can do 2 more where both heels are on the ground. And if you want to do an arm reaching forward like this, it's perfectly fine. It is your roll up. I'm just offering variations. So this is the weight of your arms assisting you. This is the weight of your arms providing resistance. Isn't that fascinating, your human body? What you can do to create more challenges or to take away challenges. It's all about where you place your limbs. All right, so I think we're all about finishing up with the second one. So once we're done with that, we're going to end up on the ground. Okay, so we're going to peel. So this has been peeling the head, neck, and shoulders, and then the spine. So you can actually peel the other way. Earlier we peeled like this, with our feet on the ground, but you can also peel without your feet on the ground. So watch this. I'm going to just change my angle here for a little bit. My knees are open, my ankles are crossed, and I can provide a little bit of momentum, pushing to the floor, squeezing my knees together and shooting my legs up. Okay, but just know that if you use too much momentum, you might not feel much in the abs. So from here, tailbone, lower back to mid abs. mid-back. Use your arms. Don't worry about how much you press into the floor, because you'll work your triceps, and no matter how much you press, you're still going to feel your abs. Now watch out about taking your feet over like this and kneeing yourself in the nose. While that still does simulate the motion of peeling up tailbone, lower back, and mid-back, it's just that if the weight of your legs just pulls your butt off the floor, that's just a weight transfer and you're not really using your abs. So you want your legs and feet to go more up than over. It doesn't mean it can't go over a little bit, but if it's all the way over like this, you're not going to feel much. So I'm like, up there. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. And then, as opposed to just letting your butt fall, where you go up and then you sort of just relax, you want to control it up and down. So imagine once you're up there, that you have a very, very delicate tailbone, and you want to be very gentle with how you place it back down. So really use those arms and use those abs. Let me show you once again from this angle. I squeeze my knees and I open. Good. And if you really care about symmetry, you can recross the ankles. It's not hugely critical. Good. I straighten my legs mostly just because of that final reach. But don't worry if you aren't straightening your legs fully. So are you guys feeling that on your abdominals? Because that's the main point. It's not just about kicking your legs up in the air. Okay. Now we're going to keep our spine on the ground. Well, we can lift the head, neck, and shoulders if you want, but this is mostly about spine stability and imprints. Go ahead and lift your legs. So this is our single leg stretch, which you've probably seen in every single Pilates class. You can extend the leg to the ceiling. You can extend the leg lower. Your head can be down on the ground. And you don't have to straighten the legs all the way. You can do a partial straightening. Okay, so what my variation to you today is what's called the scoop. So as I straighten this leg, see this leg is currently bent, instead of just reaching it on that diagonal, I'm going to scoop my way to the diagonal. So I'm going low to high. And if this doesn't exactly look like it, but it's basically kind of like you're riding the bicycle backwards. I haven't ridden a bike in years, but I know it's like the circular thing. So take your time with this, because if you move slowly, you're just going to work your abs more. So I go low and high. Like, imagine you're on the beach and there's sand there, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get my toes under the sand, and I'm going to flick the sand onto somebody. Flick that sand. Okay? So this is just the variation, and again, if you don't want to do it, you don't have to. You can just go out and in. Perfectly fine, still working those abs. Scoop and lift. Exhale. Inhale. As long as you're breathing, not really concerned with how you're breathing. So what I'm doing is I'm finishing the exhale as I straighten my leg, and I'm starting to inhale here as my knees start to bend, and then I exhale as I straighten the leg too. But again, just figure out what works for you. Okay, now we can do our obliques. Hands behind the head. Now, I know this scoop motion was like riding the bike backwards. And if it's a lot of coordination, don't worry about it. But we're actually going to try riding the bike forwards now. So I'm going to reach up. It's no longer a scoop. I'm going high, and then it ends up sort of low. This leg reaches up high, and then I finally turn towards the bent knee. Now, these are just variations in choreography. So don't worry too much about it. In the end of the day, you're bending and straightening one leg, and you're turning towards the bent knee. I'm kind of just exaggerating this
sort of circular bike pedaling. If that makes any sense to a non-bike rider. Okay, go ahead and come to our double leg stretch position. So that's starting with the knees bent at tabletop. You can also do the scoop here. So let me first show the standard or basic double leg stretch. I reach arms and legs on the high diagonal. I'm just doing it with my head down for now, but you can also lift your head, neck, and shoulders. So if we're gonna do the scoop, my toes would not just extend straight up, it would actually dip down a little bit and then scoop up, okay? And then return. Here, my head is up, scoop, reach, return, scoop, reach, return, scoop, reach. Inhale here, exhale. I'm not really scooping and reaching with my arms. I'm just kind of bending my arms, getting my legs moving, and then I hit my arms. Are your abs challenged? Good, that's the point. Are you still breathing? Good, that's the point. These are just variations so that you're distracted from how much work your abs are doing, because you're having so much fun with these variations. Okay, finish up with the last one, and let's do our scissors. Scissors, our leg can be as straight as possible. We're not going to do anything fancy with this one. We're not going to scoop, mostly because scooping involves having to bend the knee first. And since we are trying to keep both our legs straight here, we're not going to have any scooping. Stretch that hamstring. Feel the quads and hip flexors pulling. If you want more work on the abs, you let your legs go. Here, here, or you reach here and here, or you reach, hands supporting the head. Okay, those are all variations where you're not holding onto your leg. Because by holding onto your leg, you're actually giving your torso some support, your abs some support. All right, I think we've had enough. So flip onto your stomach and give your abs a rest. I don't have the AC on here because I think the AC makes too much noise. So I'm sweating profusely, but it's okay. You guys can't smell me. So remember when I said your arms can add resistance? It'll do that by stacking under the forehead. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. You still want to keep the tops of the feet on the mat for now, but let's do 5 with the feet on the mat, and let's do 5 with the legs lifted. Notice my feet are about shoulder distance apart, and when I lift my legs will be straight. Inhale and exhale. Having the hands stacked under your forehead naturally, get your head and neck perfectly aligned with your spine. So notice where your eye gaze is, right here, when you lift. That's where it should be when you do any other variations, right? So now I'm gonna lift my legs. What I'm doing is I'm squeezing my butt. My quads are coming right off the ground. If I only bent my knees, then my quads stay on the ground and I don't actually extend my spine. So really, really squeeze your butt and try to get your thighs off the ground. 2 more. Inhale to lift, exhale to lower. Go ahead and press yourself back and stretch. We're gonna do a second plank. Now I know in my first plank I didn't cue putting the knees down. I find that a lot of times when we put our knees down that we completely disengage our abs. So if you find that doing a plank is very, very challenging for your abs with your butt at shoulder height, then lift your butt higher and higher and higher until you feel your abs are challenged in a doable fashion for you, okay? Because a lot of times when we're on our knees, it puts pressure on our knees without really contributing to our abs. So wrists underneath the shoulders.
I'm doing this one on my wrist this time, but feel free to do it on your elbows again if you have any wrist sensitivities. So what I mean by having the butt high is this. Try to have your shoulders over the wrist. And if you feel your abs a lot here, then this is the position for you for the plank. And if you don't feel your abs, then what you want to do is start to lower your hips. Notice I'm having to slide my feet back a little bit to make more space. Right, this is not a downward dog where the shoulders are behind the wrist. You want your shoulders directly stacked over the wrist. So here we are in a high plank position. And if you want, you can add some leg movements. One benefit of being on your wrist is it allows for you to pull knees underneath your body. So let's do 4 knee pulls on each side. And you do all this without disturbing your pelvis. This is all about hip range of motion. You don't have to move your legs, you can hold the plank. Last one. Good. So anytime you're moving a limb while doing a plank, you're just making your abs work that much harder to stabilize yourself. There's something poking at me in the back of my tank, and I can't find it, but we will continue with Pilates, and I hope that it works itself out. Ow! Gosh, it's probably like my hair or something. Okay, so we're in our shoulder bridge. Yes, you remember this from the warm-up? And what I said earlier about anytime we lift the leg, it's really about just making the abs or glutes work harder to stabilize. So if you want to keep both feet on the ground this entire time that we're doing shoulder bridges, feel free to do that. But what we're gonna do right now is lift legs, one of them. Only one at a time. Okay, so first, up, shoulders, hips, knees. If you try to line your butt in the same line as your shoulder and knees, you're gonna hyperextend your back and put a lot of pressure on the lower back. So again, aiming for that neutral. And now I'm gonna lift the leg without losing the neutral. So if you lift your leg and you drop your butt, it's not good. We're trying not to do that, okay? Put it back down. Let's just do a couple of these to warm up and get a sense of balance. Your feet should be hip distance apart. We don't want your feet in center, right, directly in the midline. You want to have a little bit of challenge. Okay, so we have what I call the body's range of range. This is the width. So anytime you stay within this range, it's pretty easy or easier. But anytime you go out of the range on this side, it's hard. You might fall over. And if you go this way, you can also fall over. So now I'm going to challenge you to lift the leg. It can be slightly bent. And I'm going to see how far you can take it from side to side. Okay, like this leg is the windshield wiper. So if my butt's on the ground, this is relatively easy to be the windshield wiper. But now, your butt is off the ground, leg can be as straight as can be. Find that plane of motion. So select one plane. So not pulling forward, back, side, side. It's just side to side. If you want it to be down here a little bit more, that's okay too. So let's go side to side 4 times. So 4 to the right and 4 to the left. So basically 8 sweeps. And you decide how far to the right and to the left you want to go. Your hip has a range of motion. Your stabilizing leg is doing a lot of work. Your abs are stabilizing, and your hands pressing into the floor is doing work. Switch legs. Feel free to lower your butt. In between. Okay, we're back up. Double check your right and left hip are on the same side. Find where you want to move. It's your windshield wiper, remember? The windshield is just one plane. The windshield wiper, when it goes side to side, isn't going up and down off the windscreen. I mean, not windscreen, windshield. Sorry, windscreen is something that goes on a mic. Good. Nothing is moving other than this leg within the hip socket joint. Like everything else is still. Everything else is stabilizing. Good. Rest. I'm going to have you do that again, and this time I challenge you to pick a different angle. If you were on the lower side, maybe go higher. If you're on the higher side, maybe go lower. They're actually not necessarily one is more challenging than the other. They feel different. There's a little different feeling of the abs when the leg is lower, but there's more hamstring stretch and more quad work when the leg is higher. So we're going to do a second set, and I just want you to pick a slightly different angle. And the challenge will be to stay in that same plane. Maybe 30 degrees to the right, 30 degrees to the left. Good, so once again, I'm going 4 to the right and 4 to the left, but of course I don't count very well. It's not just the leg that's moving that's working. Remember, your entire body is working, your abs, and definitely that one leg that's still on the ground, that leg is definitely moving. We doing good? Okay. It's not just about watching that leg move. You also want to watch your hips. All right, so if anyone's in my fitness Facebook group, you'll have seen the awesome picture that I showed today. So that means we're going to talk about our outer thighs here. Now, whenever we are working the outer thighs, you can lay completely on the mats, or you can be propped up like this. You can be what we call completely kneeling. And so for today's version, I'm actually going to do a slight variation of in between propped up and down. Now, this is a version that you can do. So if you don't like the version I'm about to show you, then I want you to do this. So what it is I'm going to have you propped with your head and neck up with the bottom arm, but not with the rib cage down. So what this means is that you want to actually lift up with the obliques here. And this will require a little more abdominal stability because we don't have the rib cage down. Okay, I'm not looking for a huge lift, but imagine you just want to air out your armpits a little bit more. And then I have the bottom leg bent because this is my kickstand. I don't have an arm down for a kickstand, and I don't want you to fall on your face. So abs stabilizing here. This top leg is lifting, and the kneecaps and toes are facing forward. You can either point the toe, or you can flex it. Either way, the leg is very strong and straight. Stay strong and lifted here. And again, the other option is this. And then in which case, you probably don't need your bent knee down because you can also have a kickstand. Okay, let's make little circles. This will create more challenge. The circle is no bigger than an apple. I would make it even smaller than that. Maybe the size of that egg, that clementine. 5 in each direction. There's just lots of variations of all the exercises we do in Pilates. Reverse direction, inhale, exhale, inhale. I'm doing about 5 or 6 circles in each direction. Again, keep that neutral rotation. That's how we target the outer thigh. Kneecaps and toes facing forward. All right. And then the final challenge on this side, leg goes forward. And this is why having this bottom knee bent is really important. If you feel a little unstable, just put that rib cage down, or if your arms or elbows are feeling fatigued, put that rib cage down. There's nothing moving in my body other than this one leg from the hip joint. Notice the trend of Pilates. We just stabilize everything, and then we create a challenge so that it's work to stabilize. All right, into the other side. Not doing a ton of sideline leg lifts today, mostly because it's a more challenging version. Okay, so the setup is first you prop your head, bend the bottom leg, put the other hand behind the head, and then
press into that bottom elbow. You may need to shift it over a little bit, and then you want to lift top part of the rib cage. So first, just the lift. It's really critical that the bottom leg is bent. I mean, if you try it with your leg straight, that's probably what will happen. You'll fall on your face. There, I just demonstrated for everyone what's going to happen if your bottom leg is straight. Now, it does just require a lot more stability. And if you can have your bottom leg straight and not fall on your face, it means you have a ton of stabilizers. Congratulations. Good. So you could really only lift to a certain height without your legs starting to turn out. So if you're lifting much higher than your shoulder or head, check that your foot isn't turning out. If you keep the toes and kneecaps facing forward, it should really limit your range of motion. Okay, let's make those little circles. Kind of find, that position about head height. If you're making your circle too fast, see what's happening with my body? There's a lot of movement. We want no movement in our body, and that requires moving slowly and steadily. Not only does it create more challenge to the muscle, the outer thigh muscle, but it helps our stabilizers. Inhale for a circle, exhale for a circle. Reverse direction. You can feel when your body's moving. You can feel if your leg is moving too quickly and then the rest of your body has to adjust and adapt to that. That's 2. And last one. Good. And the final thing is reach it forward. I'm trying to do this at the same height, again, about my head height, because that keeps the outer thigh muscles engaged. I go forward, and then I realign it with my body. Keep the leg as straight as you can. Feel the hamstring stretch here. And if at any point you want to come down to here and do this, any of the exercises I've been doing, you don't have to commit to being on your elbows the whole time or being on the ground the whole time. Okay, great. Let's do a little stretch. Made it to the end. Whew. So here's a great glute stretch, outer thigh stretch. A lot of what we've been doing is stretching and strengthening all at the same time. Every time you lie on your stomach and you work your spine, you're stretching your abs. And then we're stretching our back when we do crunches and flexing the spine. When we work our quads, we're stretching the hamstrings, so on and so forth. Okay, switch. I'm going to finish on our hands and knees just so that we get a little bit more of our spine work for our posture. So wrists underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. If you have any sort of low back pain, this is a great exercise to do. You don't need to lift the arms, you can just lift the legs, and that allows you to strengthen your spine in neutral. So this is actually better for you if you have low back pain than doing the stuff on the stomach, because on the stomach, we're already in neutral. We're basically coming to extension. So we're kind of arching the back, which is great for your spine if you're not already in pain in the first place. So anytime I lay on my stomach, if it bothers you, you can always do this version. This is strengthening the spine in neutral position. You're lifting your limbs and holding your body up against gravity. It is doing work. Planks are also really good because it is an exercise and strengthener in the neutral position. Not to say that every exercise should be in neutral, because our spine does flex, it does extend, it needs to be able to laterally bend, twist, rotate, it needs to do all those things. But one good thing to do is that you can strengthen your spine in neutral without doing any of those things. Let's try to do what you can. Round the spine here. Arch. Take your head and tailbone with you. So tucking the tailbone, dropping the head.
Lifting the chest. Remember that fruit that we have here? You don't want to drop it, right? So even in our arched position, I'm not just trying to look up as much as possible. I'm still trying to keep the head and neck mostly aligned with my spine. Good. You can come to neutral and do a lateral bend. So I'm looking over my shoulder towards my butt. And then looking over my other shoulder towards my butt. And what this does is it stretches open the one side. All right, if you have any questions, feel free to ask it in the chat or you can unmute yourself. Thank you so much for joining me for Mat Pilates.
Thanks, Ben.